Okay, captains for this week are Selby and Van Horn on offense, Blake Keller and Trey Tyler on defense. And I've told you all along that if I get a guy that's injured and is out for the year, I'll tell you he is, and Willie Johnson has a leg issue that he will be out, which will probably, well, not probably, he'll be able to get a medical red shirt because it happened within the first 4 games. So that is the one positive about that. You're getting ready to go play North Texas team that their coach has done a tremendous job of. That team's a much different team than it was a year ago. They're playing a freshman quarterback by the name of Fine, who, if you watch him play, he can beat you with his feet as well as his arm. And he went in against the last series against SMU early on and has been their starter ever since. So they're playing with great energy. They're flying around. They're really solid in special teams. And we got to make sure, again, that we've got a great week of preparation starting over. It's conference play. So for us, it's starting a new season. It's important for us to treat, and as you do with every conference game you play, is every game's a championship game, and then you got to treat it that way. So get ready to go play. We're finished?
Well, you don't like to start 1-3, but what can you take away from these 4 games, considering you've played 2 Power Fives and in an FCS? What's the biggest thing you take away?
And you don't ever, nobody's happy where we are, Doug. And we're beyond the point where you want to go play well against those teams. You expect to beat those teams. I mean, that's what we do, and we've done that in the last, the Marylands and the Purdue's, and we've done that. So you go into every game expecting to win, and we did some good things against that Pitt team last week. Nobody ran the ball against them like we did. They've rushed for over 300 yards against Carolina, who beat Florida State, Oklahoma State, and Penn State. So, we didn't play well near enough, good enough to win that game. And there at the end, if we can get off the field on 3rd down, you probably got a shot at maybe that happened, and we didn't get that done. So, I never felt, and I've said this, you heard me say it, I never felt you learn anything from losing. I don't believe that. I think you learn from, you need to win football games. We haven't done that, and if you come out of there, you haven't learned something, Doug. We have to get better as a team in all 3 phases and play better, and we expect to do that.
Their quarterback, Mason Fine, he's a smaller guy. I think they list him at 5'11", 170. But what does he bring to the table that they went to him instead of Morris?
I think his athletic ability. He can beat you with his feet, and you watch him. If you go turn that film on and watch him, he doesn't play like he's 5'11", 170. I mean, he takes shots. He doesn't get down. He's running. He runs over. He ran over, I think it was Middle Tennessee safety. I mean, he looks like a running back in there at times, and I think probably the reason they went with him was because of his escapability with his feet. They've also got some quarterback runs now within their offense to take advantage of his skill set. But you wouldn't think a guy 5'11", 170 would bring that to the table, but he does. He does, and he can throw it. He gets out on the perimeter. He can throw it. And
because part of that, they've suffered quite a few sacks. Is that part of it, that he can get out of bad situations?
Well, if you go back and look at the number, I'm not sure the number of sacks exactly the other quarterback had in him because they played both of them, but they've had several sacks. But and people have gotten to him at times, but he runs around back there and hangs on to the ball, and thing he feels pressure. The one thing you got to keep him in the pocket because he'll get out of the pocket. Sometimes he's like any quarterback that keeps their eyes down the field. He at times is the most dangerous when you do flush him out of the pocket and he can get on the perimeter. So we've got to do a great job of trying to keep him contained.
I know that Jeffrey Wilson, their running back, came in here and had the best game of his career to that point against you all last year. What does he bring to the table within their new offense? They
got 2 running backs that they're really good, could play for anybody in our conference. If you go watch it, probably the strength of their team without doubt is their running backs offensively, and of course that quarterback's making some plays for them. But they're both guys that you better tackle, and we experienced that firsthand here a year ago with him, and he's better this year than he was a year ago. So they play 2 guys, and there's no doubt that they're both really good players.
Is it hard with their new offensive scheme to still maintain the focus on those running backs? Do they get you in those one-on-ones like what spread teams do?
Well, they're different offense than what Pitt created a lot of issues for you because of run fits. You had to get your safeties involved on the perimeter with your run fits, and because of the motions and all the things that they did. This team is a little bit similar to us in Middle Tennessee. If you remember, they're mostly an outside zone, inside zone type team, and so your run fits aren't quite as complicated as they were. Not quite. They're not as complicated as they were last week, but you've got to put an edge on the defense like you always do with their outside zone, and of course you got to fit the right gaps, which I think we can get done this week.
How fast do they run a tempo, or do they just?
They do. They do both, Doug. They're not always what we call red tempo, which is fast as you can go. But he's a Larry Fedora disciple. He was assistant head coach for offense, whatever, at North Carolina under Larry, and so he's very similar to what Southern Miss was when Fedora was the coach there. But they'll run a white tempo, which is where they're going to call a play, check to the line, try to get you lined up defensively, and then check the play based on what you do. So they run different tempos, but they do everything from the line of scrimmage.
This time last year, they didn't have much of a passing attack to go against us, so you all could sort of game plan against that rushing attack. What has the ability of Mason Fine to be able to add that passing element done for their offense?
Well, it's no doubt you got to defend the entire field now, but I think the other thing he's brought to him is you got to defend the quarterback run, and that's not just scrambles in pass situations. It's also quarterback draws and counters, quarterback counters that are actually quarterback runs with where you get an extra hat in the box to try to get those things stopped. So he creates more issues because of his ability to run the football, and of course he's got the ability to throw it too.
Looks like Anthony Anderson maybe healed up, healthy for the first time. Really stood out in that second half.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that him and Keon both ran extremely well, and we need that to continue. But coming out of that game, we felt both Keon and Anthony took a step, and that needs to continue to happen.
What happened to Pittman in the game? He had 3 carries.
Yeah, he's got in there, and to be honest, and Anthony, and sometimes that happens when those guys get the hot hand, and we felt those guys were running really well, and you kind of go with who's got the hot hand at that point. And I thought that especially second half, I thought both Keon and Anthony were running the ball well, and it's hard to play 3 backs and keep so we kind of went with a hot hand, and those guys both played well.
It's been sort of the interesting dynamic for you. It seems like there have been 3 or 4 backs that have each sort of stepped up in each of your first 4 games to really lead the rushing attack.
Yeah, you'd like to, I think what you'd like to try to get done, and hopefully it's happening, is you'd like to see some separation to where you can, get 2 backs in there and grease them up, let them go, and then, of course, again, at the end of the day, you're going to need everybody. But I think coming out of that game, there's no doubt that both Keon and Anthony ran the ball well. We need to try to get that done again on this weekend.
They're giving up a pretty good bit of rushing yards on the ground each game. I think they're 112th nationally or right around that area. Is that an emphasis this week to establish the run a little bit earlier than you did last week?
I think we always have to try to run the football. You don't want to be one-dimensional, but I think our offense is we want to try to establish the run, and when we were able to do that against Pitt, we became a better offensive team because of we were able to play action. And anytime you can run the football, you're going to slow that defensive front down to where you don't get quite the pressure on the quarterback with play action. Passes and that type of thing, which we got into against Pitt in the second half, which I thought helped us. So, we're going to go into every game we play trying to establish the run. This week will be no different.
Chase misses a whole game. He hit pretty hard in the Akron game, misses the next one. Did it take the first half to kind of get him back to speed? Or?
I think he looked a lot more comfortable for me in the second. To answer your question, it looked like that to me, to be honest. I mean, I felt like the second half, he looked a lot more comfortable than he did in the first half, and missed some throws in the first half that he didn't miss in the second half. And so I don't think, you saw the same thing I did, Woody. I think he looked a lot more comfortable in the second half. And not only did he miss the game, but he missed a whole week of practice, the week of the Louisville game. So I don't think there's any question he was a little rusty there in the first half, but I thought he played better in the second half.
Getting back to Anthony Anderson for a second, I know everybody talks about his size and things like that, but his touchdown run, the 11-yard touchdown run, he made 2 guys miss, one in the hole and then one on the outside. Is that something that you see as, people underestimate that part of his game?
Well, I don't think there's any question. He's got good feet and he's got good feel for a guy as big as he is, and at times we got to get him just sticking that foot in the ground and getting vertical on some things with inside zone and a couple of things. But if you got to coach the heck out of a running back and tell him to make this cut and that cut and do this and that, chances are you don't have one. Running back is a guy that you hand the ball to him and tell him to go run with it, and that's what the great ones do. And I don't think he's not a great one right now. He's got the ability at some point maybe to be that guy, but I think you can't just let him go, man. Hand him the ball and let him go play. And that's what, if they're really good players, then they'll get done what needs to get done.
I know we talked a little bit about the game slowing down for players, and especially going from junior college to this level, it seemed like he wanted to dance a little bit the first couple of weeks. Are you seeing him starting to be more definitive with his moves?
Yes, I am. And he didn't play his football last year either. So he hadn't played a lot of football either for about a year and a half. So he's just getting his feet wet again and getting back in there. And I think the more he plays, the better he'll get. And so I'm anxious to see him grow as we go down the road.
Noticed that Beardall was snapping the other day. Is that a strategic thing? Or?
No, our guy, my man Wood, decided he didn't want to play football anymore. So he came in and decided that he was a walk-on. I thought he'd done a tremendous job for us, and kind of shocked and caught me off guard. But Beardoff went in and did a heck of a job. Went in there and didn't miss a beat. He is the cousin of our long snapper at Florida named James Smith, who may be the best long snapper I've ever. Sincata maybe it was similar to Sincata. Was our long snapper for 4 years and had in the NFL for a while. And his cousin out of, and James told me he was good, and he's got a chance to be really good. So.
We're talking Beardall here.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Beardall went in and for his first game, and that deal, I thought he did well for himself.
Special teams overall, though.
You know what we do? I think we have a category every week, Woody, with winning the special team. We won every category. We won every field position battle. We had some big plays with the onside kick and the stop the fake field goal. And Amaretto continues to kick the ball non-returnable, and when doesn't, we cover them well. Our punts, the last 3 weeks we played against the 3 top punt returners in the country. And I had them almost 0 yards. So, our special teams, we're playing well enough to win on special teams, but we got to continue to take that to another level. Continue to do that and just continue to grow as a football team. And these kids are good kids. I like this team. Let's just don't flinch. Let's just stay on course. And I think at the end of the day, I told them I think they'll like where they are.
If you've been around this game a long time, have you ever seen an onside kick that was more precision
No.
than that?
You know what? I don't know. You guys are allowed to come to practice. We didn't execute it one day in practice last week. I mean, it was awful. But Adam told me what a great job they did, and every time we did it, we didn't come close, but we executed perfect in the game. So that's, Amaretto, that was about, I'm sure I've ever seen one executed better than that one. So that was took a shot, and Amaretto did it, and Box did a great job, and it was well executed.
You almost hate that you're not allowed to advance those things because it looked like Box would have gone to the house.
He had a chance. I looked out there, and that daggone tackle was right on top of him. I said, oh, geez, we don't have a chance. And all of a sudden, he approaches it, and he takes off, but it was a perfect kick and well executed. So.
With Zach leaving, is that Eli going to have to come out and
Yeah,
back up?
yeah, yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. McClain, their safety, he was Conference USA Defensive Player of the Week a couple weeks ago and had another nice game against Middle Tennessee last week. What do you see from them in the secondary?
Aggressive, physical, range, can run. Again, I talk all the time about when you're playing all these teams in Texas and Florida and all these teams, the recruiting base they have, they're going to have some players now. I mean, we can sit there and look at what their record is and what they've done and all this, but you go look at them on tape, they got guys that can run and play, and they should, because they're located right in the middle of a big-time talent base. So they're very aggressive on defense. They're 3 down, they're coming from everywhere, and a little different than what they were a year ago, but they create a lot of problems because of, if you look at, they played Florida, pretty well to a point, and but they're, like I say, they got them playing hard, they got to play them aggressive, but the guy you mentioned, the safety's got great range, and it's a good job in space and tackles well.
But I know you played them last year, but had you even crossed paths with North Texas before last year? And do you know any of their coaches or?
You know what? It's no of them. Kind of different deal. I know, of course, got a chance to meet, Seth when he was down at the conference meetings and all that kind of thing. But I know he was a tremendous coach. You look at where he's been, and Larry Fedora's an excellent football coach, and the tree he comes from has got really good coaches, and he's no different.
One thing you can't teach, Doc, is experience starting, and you've got so little of it in your defensive backfield. Your corners have about 11 starts among 3 and 12 starts among safeties among 3. What can you do to get those guys better as you go into the conference?
I think Chuck Heater's I've worked with Chuck forever, not worked with him forever, but known him forever. And what he did, he's a good teacher. What he did with those kids at Florida and brought guys in, and you know, he feels good about those kids athletically. We just got to coach them up, you know. And I think if you look at our defense, and we're not close to being where we want to be by any means, and but our front seven's playing pretty well. You know, if you just take a look at our front seven, I think we got to get the secondary, you know, to play better. He likes those kids, and he's going to continue to coach the heck out of them, and they're good kids, you know, and he thinks they're athletic enough. So we just got to coach them better, and they got to play better, and I think they will.
I know you're a big special teams guy. Their punter
Yeah, he's
has
really good.
has really flipped the field the last couple of
Yeah.
weeks, and veteran senior. How important is that field position battle on that third base going to be? With
It always is. I mean, it's there, and you mentioned their putter. I think it's number one, like 8th in the country or something. I mean, he changes the field. He's a tremendous punter. He's also the kickoff guy, and he kicks a lot of non-returnable kicks. And you know, there's no doubt that he's like our guys. I mean, he's like our guys, and so it's going to be a battle of the special teams. That's always a big part of it. That you got to try to win that phase of it, and it'll be important when you try to get that done on Saturday.
Cody Carter's been an important part of your all special teams, and he missed last week.
I think he's. I mean, he'll be out there today, practicing, and you know, you got to go through all the protocol and everything you got to go through, but I think he'll be fine. You never know until, you know, with that deal, but I think he'll be fine. He'll be out there today and hopefully the rest of the week. Okay, thanks, guys.